Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kat. So today I just wanted to do a little video with these brushes that I got from a friend. I got them as a gift and I really was excited to try them. So these are watercolor brushes that hold water within them while you paint. So it takes out a lot of the mess, I feel like. As long as they work the way that they're meant to, I think that they will be a very useful tool. First thing that I noticed is there are a lot of the same sizes and there aren't detail brushes. There's a few that are small enough to be used, kind of like a detail brush, but I very much like using brushes to get fine details. They also included this, I think it's an ink injector or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how to use it. The instructions are not very clear about it, so I'm not going to be using it for this video. I might try it again sometime soon. What I find interesting about these is the type of bristles that it has. They almost seem like slippery, I guess. And I think that might just be the way that they come because they probably have oil or something on them to keep them smooth. But they're definitely plastic bristles, when I usually prefer using a fluffy type of bristle on my brush. So I'm not sure how I'll like that part, but we're gonna give them a chance and we'll see. They do seem to not leak, which is obviously an important thing in this type of tool. So I am excited to try them because I think that they'll be nice for traveling, especially. I've actually tried a cheaper version of this type of brush, but it did actually leak, and I took it with me on a trip a while back and it leaked all over and it was a pain, but I'm hoping these ones will be better. These ones also come with flat brushes and round brushes, which is really nice because that means I can do flat washes as well as detail. So I'm going to fill these up with water and test them out on my hand just to make sure that the water comes through the bristles like it's meant to. It'll be probably kind of hard to see, but you'll get the idea hopefully. So really quickly, I want to explain the little bottle that I'm using to fill up the brushes. I normally use this for my watercolor art because that way I can take the squeeze bottle and pour it in with a specific pigment so I can get a consistent wash color. So instead of having to remix a wash each time I go in, this is how I can get a consistent background color or sky color. And it really helps when you're trying to do realistic scenes. Highly suggest getting one of these if you use watercolors. So after going through all of these, it looks like they're all working how they should be. Some of them are kind of hard to squeeze to get the water to come out, but that's all right. We will just have to see how they work when I'm actually using them for the painting. Okay, now we move on to the actual painting portion and trying out the brushes. If I'm being honest, it's been a while since I've used watercolor, and really I haven't been super creative the past few weeks. Probably longer than that, because this past semester has been really tough, so I may be a little rusty, and that's fine because art is a discipline, you know? It's the same thing as learning a skill. You can get better at it, you can get worse at it. And if you get worse at it, you can continue to go back and practice more and more and get better at it again. And that's fine. Being able to create art is not only a talent, it is a discipline. It's something you can learn, something you can grow in, just like any other thing. So I highly encourage you guys, if you do want to make art, just do it. It doesn't matter if you think you're good enough or anything like that, because if you want to do it and it makes you happy, then you need to do it. So for this practice with this tool piece, I am making a whimsical type of forest scene, so it's not necessarily realistic. I did want it to look a little illustrative. So the house has a kind of fairy tale feeling to it with the rounded door and the rounded windows, and I drew it out with a light watercolor pencil so that it will just blend into all the other colors that I paint on top of it. So other than these brushes, I am using watercolor pencils, but I pretty much always use those now that I've discovered them. I very much enjoy watercolor pencils, and I highly suggest them to anyone who wants to learn how to work with watercolor. Another fun thing I'd like to share with you guys is I finally got an actual camera. I have been filming on my cell phone, which I have a Note 8 or 9, I think. I can't even remember. But I've been filming with this phone pretty much since the beginning of me being on YouTube, and I am so excited to learn how to use a camera. So this is my very first time ever using this camera for an actual video. So any feedback would be amazing from you guys. Personally, I found it was a lot easier because when I'm filming on my phone, if I get a phone call, it just stops recording and it's super frustrating. But that's why I've been saving up for a camera, and I'm really happy with the one that I got. So, okay, let's go back to how I'm feeling about these brushes so far. They're okay. They're nice for the trees especially. I think that they're good to create a variant texture in the trees, but I found I had an issue with the grass. This is why I like using a fluffy brush, because I can get a different type of wash with it. This one seems a lot more harsh, I guess, compared to using a fluffy brush to put down a wash. And I wanted some variation within the grass to have different shades, obviously different textures, because that's kind of what grass does. And I just found that it was a real struggle to do that with this. And I think that's because the brushes just want to cling together. In fact, I actually ended up fraying the flat brush that I was using. So, highly suggest not making this type of, texture with these brushes. It's definitely for more of a unified texture compared to the smooth wash that I guess it's made for. Then I wanted to make a sort of cobblestone feel for the pathway, and I don't know. Again, I feel like it didn't do what I wanted it to do. And I've worked with watercolor quite a bit before, so it's not the fact that I don't know that watercolor kind of does what it wants to do. I think that it was truly because of the type of brush. Also, in case you were wondering, my palette is in fact an old makeup palette. I know, right? Genius. I actually was trying that out for I think it was a previous video. I'm not sure if it was actually in a video or if I was trying out ideas before making the video. But this was supposed to be like a travel type of idea. Maybe I did put it in a video. I don't know. I'm getting to the point in my YouTube career where I don't remember some of my videos at all. Another thing about these brushes is I actually found it kind of difficult to layer. With softer bristled brushes, it's really easy to layer one layer on top of another without getting any sort of, washing away of the previous layer that you've put down. So shading kind of proved to be a bit of a pain because it would lift up the pigment that I've already laid down. And I think that's because of the fact that the bristles are they're not necessarily stiff, but they are definitely harder than a fluffy brush that is specifically made for watercolor. And I really noticed that when I went in to do the sky behind the trees. I decided to just go over the branches because I wasn't going to go in between each and every branch to make the same shade throughout. That kind of sounded like a pain. So normally what I would do is just go right over it really lightly, but here I saw a lot more smearing than I probably would have with my regular brushes. But it's okay because I'm going to put leaves over top, so you probably won't even be able to tell. A positive thing about these brushes that I noticed is when I was working on the leaves, I did really like the largest brush for the leaves. This one is a square brush, so it's got a very, very square look to it, but once I started using it a certain way, it definitely worked better than the round brushes for the leaves. Because if I were to use the round brushes, it would end up looking exactly like the floor of the forest. And like I said before, I didn't necessarily like how that turned out. I was able to get a bit more variation within the leaves by using this square brush and dabbing a lot lighter, but sweeping motions and stuff like that just blend everything together, which is unfortunate because I can usually get a better variation with my normal brushes. It also proved to be kind of a pain to clean this specific brush. Somehow the ink got pulled back into the tube where the water sits, so now the water is green and the brushes are pretty much permanently green, which is unfortunate, but this is the only brush that it happened with, weirdly enough. Some of the other ones are slightly stained a certain color. Maybe they're just sensitive to the green for some reason. I'm not sure why this happened. Next, I am just taking my watercolor pencils because, like I said, I couldn't get as detailed as I wanted to. So I'm gonna add that detail back in with watercolor pencils because it's not necessarily a brush, so I'm not technically using other brushes because I wanted to purely use brushes from this set. So I'm just creating the cobblestone look and just adding details on specific pieces like on the bush and the leaves, and I'm hoping that that makes me feel a little bit better about this painting. Overall, this watercolor brush set was alright. I can definitely see myself using them again, but I do think that I prefer regular watercolor brushes just because they have softer bristles. You can get blending better. Instead of just wiping away pigment, you actually get real blending. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, any future video ideas you might have. I would love to hear your ideas. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to see every time I upload. Do it meow.